Well, thank you all for taking time out of your long weekend to hang out with me, Jennifer Ogilvy from Dallas, and Bailey Grady, who is my sidekick this evening. She'll be hanging out in the chat, directing you to any information that you may not find here. She can maybe help you along the way. And if not, we will make sure that you get the address to hello@silkandsonder.com, which is our headquarters. Just welcome. I hope many of you are getting a little extra day off this week. It's Memorial Day. I wanted to take a moment to thank those families that are gathered with us who have maybe experienced loss of a loved one who bravely served our country. And just thank you for the legacy that they left. It could have been a long, long time ago. It could have been in recent times, but we are just grateful that we get to have a time of remembrance through Memorial Day, our informal kickoff to summer, and just that moment of sharing together. I'm seeing lots of familiar friends in the chat. It's good to see you guys. I don't know if anybody's here for the first time. If you are, drop a me in the chat so that we can welcome you. We always like to say hello. This is a mics off, cameras off event. I'm seeing some of my friends who joined last week for our in-person Dallas event. Hi, India. And let's see who else is here. I'm look, Andrea's here. We were all together last Sunday. It's hard to believe it was a week ago. Anyway, welcome, welcome, welcome. And yes, thank goodness cameras are off. I laughed. I told Bailey I've been working in the yard, so I'm a little pink today, but I do have a clean shirt on. I'm glad you can't actually smell me. So make sure your chat is set to everyone. And we're going to just dive in. So, Neha has some wonderful sessions coming up. On the left, you will see two sessions offered on June 3rd. On the right, you will see two sessions offered on June 5th. And these are little mini socials. They're about 45 minutes long. These four topics are amazing topics. Mayha always brings us wonderful, wonderful information. And then she will also share through the lens of our Sonder life coach how we can really utilize that service that is offered, knowing who we are and how we operate. So really want you guys to think about, logging on and checking some of these out. They will also be recorded, so you can catch them maybe later on the YouTube channel. But I always love when Mayhaw comes live because her energy for what Silk and Sonder is so, so contagious. There are the community guidelines that we always share with each of, at each of these gatherings together, because it is a reminder that this is a place to be kind and courteous to yourself and to others. And, this time you've carved that out. You're kind of keeping this appointment with self. And when we do that, we really end up utilizing our journal to its very fullest potential. So I love that you're here. Love that you took a little time out of that holiday weekend to hang out with Bailey and me. We've gotten a new nickname for ourselves that came up last weekend. Go time, because of her last name Grady, my last name Ogilvy. So we're going to be obnoxious and just call it go time. Of course, our very last deep dive into simplicity happens this week. We are finishing up this month of May. And I've shared this quote because it's really guided me. The ability to simplify means to eliminate the unnecessary so the necessary may speak. I have said this a bunch of times. I am by no means a minimalist. I am comforted by my home and the things that are around me, but it is important to eliminate unnecessary commitments, unnecessary things, unnecessary thoughts. And that really helps us embrace the idea of what simplicity can be in our lives when we think about getting rid of the unnecessary. So our time together will look like this. This is a typical agenda for weekly setup, our mind map. If you are here for the first time, oh, and Amy just said she needs a whole nother month on simplicity, right? So it doesn't have to go away. If you sometimes those themes just hit and they really stay with you. So you don't have to say goodbye to it. If it's something that has almost been one of those aha kind of themes, some of them just hit better. I've shared many times for me, the theme of indulgence, which was forever ago, like December, I don't know, 4 years ago. Oh my goodness, it was so empowering for me to embrace what indulgence looked like in my life. And I think about it like on the regular. So keep that simplicity mindset front and center if it's something that you felt really touched your life. So we're going to be doing that mind map. We're going to do the rosebud thorn reflection for our past week, and then we'll do the weekly setup. And you may have you know what you're going to do, and you've just like, this is my time. I've carved it out. Perhaps we'll have something that will show up on the screen that you'll want to consider adding to your journal. Maybe not this week. Maybe you'll tuck it away for another week, but we'll work on the pages. I've got lots of examples to share with you. So let's turn to our mind map. Now, if you are here for the first time, we do a deeper dig into our monthly theme. And we do it through the mind map, which is bonus prompts. Each week you get a bonus prompt. It's not in your journal. Choose a space that you want to do your reflection. It's really up to you, no right or wrong way to do it. We've got some hints over there. Now, if you are here for the very last week, but it's your very first time, you're gonna see our 4 prompts. Grab a screenshot. Maybe you'll want to, dig into that. Or if this thing was really great and it really spoke to you, maybe grab a screenshot of those 4 prompts and revisit them again in another quarter or so and kind of see how it's vibing with you. So week one was about the physical possessions that were no longer serving a purpose or bringing us joy. And we did that consideration. A lot of us have taken on a decluttering challenge. I took on a decluttering challenge. I have not been as successful through getting through my list, but the list isn't going to go away. It's going to hang out with me and I'm still going to get them. It's just not, in a tidy month of 31 days. It might take me 60 days. Week two, what are those commitments that drain you? What are the activities that you could maybe slowly get rid of so that you can make space for the things that matter in your life? Last week we looked at the feelings of overwhelm. What was just kind of causing those anxious moments, physically, emotionally, mentally, and just thinking about one small step we could take to bring more simplicity. And this week is I love the future self prompts. We're looking at a year from now, May 2026. Having intentionally embraced simplicity, what does your daily life look like and feel like? So, I've got a couple of ideas for you to maybe frame this out as you're approaching this week's mind map. First, just start where you are right now, and then we'll shift gently. Fast forward 12 months. Look at what you're doing in a typical day where there's some things you've let go of. What does your home feel like? How have your relationships become more nourishing because you've made some space for the necessary? You got rid of the unnecessary. I always love this graphic about the present me and the future me and how future me when you get to future me, you're just so grateful to past you for doing XYZ. So I thought that was a great reminder of thinking about that future you. Something else, I love this graphic. You are handling situations better than your old self. Celebrate that. So, what are you celebrating in a year from now? Maybe you wrap it up with a reflection that really embraces the emotional experience of what a year from now looks like. And it could look something like this. It's not that life became perfect, but in stripping away the unnecessary, I uncovered ease. And that ease has become my favorite rhythm. Finally, have you gotten rid of commitments that were just eating up all the joy in your life? And now you are experiencing JOMO on the regular, that joy of missing out, of being, really connected with yourself and embracing that as a form of self care. And it's again, have you chosen wisely? So think about opportunities that you said no to, habits that you gently released, commitments you did not renew, and maybe the digital noise that you silenced. I approached it from going back and looking at my definition of simplicity from several weeks ago. I'll encourage you to go look at yours. I kinda did a word cloud for my definition, and then I sat with Jenny, and I asked her to help me think about this week's question. What does 2026 Jennifer look like next May when I'm embracing what I feel simplicity is and I'm living those things? And Jenny helped me. I and here's, what it ultimately came up to. Let me go to that last page. That's where I do my mind map. I have an unhurried morning routine after a restful full night's sleep. My daily focus is quality, not quantity, especially with responsibilities and relationships. I am thriving, guided by the belief that I have enough, no, that I am enough and what I have is enough. So that's kind of where I ended up landing with May 2026, Jennifer. I'm going to put on some music while you reflect on your journey with simplicity this month and what 2026 you will look like. So, you might not be finished with your reflection on what next year looks like, but hopefully you've gotten a good start and you can kind of doodle a little bit while we're moving forward. And maybe you'll sit a little bit later and really think about this and go a little deeper. This is always that fast hour. I want to make sure that I don't keep you after class, but I love the idea of thinking about ourselves in the future. So thank you for that reflection. Oh, Courtney, you're a Jomo fan. I love that. Yeah, the joy of missing out. Isn't that just powerful? So now we're going to do our rosebud thorn reflection, and you'll find this on page 50 in your May journal. If you are sitting with June as your journal and you've decided to jump into that one, you can do your rosebud thorn maybe on a scratch sheet of paper or the scratch pad of one of your spaces in your journal for June. But we want to take a look at the things that didn't go well last week, maybe the things that we struggled with or some hiccups, just something that could be challenging. And sometimes they're very temporary, and sometimes like health things, they're just hanging out. I know Andrea's been dealing with a lot of health issues. Many of you have shared on in Sonder Club or at a social, some these journeys that are not quick thorns. And so, just embrace those and try to find the learning from it. My thorn was kind of incidental, but I've been working in the yard really hard. I don't really have my husband this year to be the team because of his new knees. And I managed to trim our hedges, and I was so proud of myself. But in the process, I also managed to cut a perfectly good water hose in half as well as the electrical cord while I was operating it, and I'm okay, but I'm just like, dadgummit, it prob by the time I replace all the stuff I ruined, I could have just hired somebody. That was my thorn. My bud is I am looking forward to our family trip to Florida in June. Gonna take those grandbabies, put their toes in some sand, and get to play with them. And notice I did not say vacation. I always say there's a difference between vacation and family trip. And then my rose this week, y'all, I have to share with you. I was hanging out with my two little grandkids and I was putting them to bed and we were laying down and my little granddaughter, her name is Austin Louise, and she laid, we were just visiting and she said, I'm their JoJo. My initials are my grandma name. And she said, JoJo, did you always want to be a grandma when you grew up? And I thought that was the sweetest thing, and I was like, "Yeah, I think I did. I think it's the best job I've ever had." So that little rose, that was so happy for me. So I'm gonna put on a little bit of music while you share in the chat. And yes, India just said, kinda, sometimes things can be on when my husband Jim had his knees done, my rose and my bud and my thorn were one thing, and that was that new knee, right? Because it was all of it. So anyhow, let's get going on that. Share in the chat as you're comfortable, and then we'll move on to our setup. Thank you all for sharing as you were comfortable. I know there's a lot of unspoken things that you might be struggling with out there, and just know that your Sonder community is with you. Um, and as Kimberly says, when we share these, it really helps with our perspective. We're not alone, for one. We know that, but that also, when maybe one person's having a down week, someone else is having an up week and can send that good energy toward them. Y'all are looking forward to lots of things. Birthday celebrations, trips are in the works. Pride Month is coming. A break from chemotherapy, like that thorn that you just get to have a break from. Creating a home with a loved one. Looking forward to how things can be changed, or thinking about how something can just be let go. A car is back on the road. There's upcoming concerts. You all shared some wonderful things to look forward to. So, thank you for that. Lots of great buds. Sometimes a bud is just as simple as it's a new week, right? Or a new month. That's why we love our journals, because we get that fresh start. So I want to encourage you really quickly to share your journal share your setup in Sonder Club, or maybe at least go into Sonder Club and just talk about like this community experience that you are here, having, that you carved it out and why it's important. I think that would be very encouraging to some of our community who just doesn't know how magical our hours are together. So we are going to now jump into our weekly setup, and you have a choice. So I always say, if the month of May has been terrible, I call them the trash fire months. And you're just ready to dive in, leave the purples and yellows behind and dive into these summer savory oranges. Grab that June journal, turn to page 26 and 27. Or maybe you've decided to finish up the month of May, since just about every day this week is featured in that on those pages. It's up to you. Whatever works for you. Usually I just kind of see which week has the most within the journal. However, I have been known to jump into a brand new journal just to have fresh, nice, clean pages. So it's really up to you, whatever you want to do. I always like to share this list. This is ideas I've gotten from y'all, and it's just in one space. You can grab a screenshot if there's some things on here that you might want to consider adding to a space somewhere in your journal. I always have a garden tracker this time of year, so my shopping list is always a garden tracker. But I also always use the Mind Body Health Plan for kind of my space, my little, not anybody, it's about taking care of me. So, you might want to do so anyway. Whatever whatever you want to do. Are you having India? Is it a little glitchy? I hope it's not my internet. I kind of noticed that like my live screen of myself talking looked like it was a little jumpy. So maybe it's Dallas. Who knows? Um, Alrighty, so here's a couple of examples of this first page that we're going to work on that contains how we want to feel, those major goals for the week, the to-do list, and our habits and activity trackers. So here we've got a couple of examples. You can see you make these for yourself. Loved this. How do I want to feel? Unruffled. And so there's that simple little black dress that say yes to that simplicity, no thanks to all the extras. I just love how that's depicted. You can also just use words like the ones you see on the right. I just write words. I've shared that before. Yes, Gloria, I thought it was so cute. And then Gloria is going to keep it simple by her three goals there. And if you look over into the to-dos, she has more and less of stuff that's going to support those three goals that she set for the week. So was so glad to see that example on there, Gloria, of tying all that in together. And then the one on the right, you can see the three major goals are there. And then the to-dos have been gamified by placing it in a little bingo board so that we can get a dump of some good endorphins and serotonins and all that happy stuff when we're marking that off. It's always fun to gamify it. Gloria, I'm assuming you just tracked in your habit tracker. You didn't set a goal. The one on the right, it looks like they set, a certain number of goals. So that's also an optional thing. So let's start by thinking about how do we want to feel this week as we are saying goodbye to May. We're gonna kind of finish up this month. Maycember is almost over. Think about, how you're feeling now. Do you need to turn that feeling into something else? Remember that feelings are signals, not orders. So you don't have to act on every feeling. You get to choose how you feel. So drop in the chat kind of what you are hoping for this week. Stephanie says she wants to feel open and accepting. We've got, let's see, do something joyful. I also love that, Kimberly. Oh, that's great. Andrea, of course, is looking for all the calm she can get. Claire needs to have her together. I've had weeks like that, Claire. Be intentional in thoughts and actions, reconnected, maybe just use I want to feel, this feeling of simplicity in my life. Energetic. Oh, great. Some really great words. This is great. Yeah. And feelings are signals, not orders. I loved that one, India. I had to throw that in there because I get to choose, right? I need to be in control of those feelings. So here's some fun ways to do that. You can write it, use stickers, do drawings, whatever is speaking to you. Thanks for writing all these great words in the chat. Yeah, organize. Oh, Amy. Yeah, there's no mess like a preschool mess when you got to pack up for the year. So we're going to take that feeling and we're going to drop down now and consider the goals, the to-dos, the things that we need to do this week. And I want to encourage you to maybe take one last peek of what you said you wanted your May to look like. What were those intentions? How did that go for you? Are there some things that you can incorporate this week that help you feel good about those intentions? Now, if you didn't live up to some of the things you set for yourself, that's okay. It's neutral. This is just that piece of paper, but I want you to maybe go visit because I don't want you to have regrets. I think it's important to look at those intentions and go, I meant to do this. This wasn't the month to do it and be okay with that. Were there some things you wanted to start, stop, and continue this month? Did that happen? Or is there one little thing you could put into play? this week to celebrate what you decided in those spaces. I love that we have a Sonder family member who actually challenged themselves to regularly check in with that stop, start, and continue box. I thought that was a really neat way to use their activity tracker for the week. Now, of course, you don't have to set your goals this week. Maybe your to-dos are just going to drive what you do. Like that, your to-dos are your goal, like get through them. And here's an example of someone repurposing this space as a checklist of the rhythms and routines that they want in their day. There's a whole list of suggestions for repurposing the space. But you could also like finish up simplicity. You can go back and look at the last 3 weeks. Are there things that are outstanding that you could bring forward to? And this is kind of your week of the frog, of eating the frog, doing the thing you didn't want to do. You're just going to knock it out and leave it in May. Really up to you. We always talk about setting goals with limits. Those no goals. What are we taking away? What are we stopping and not doing? That's a great way to go look at that stop, start, and continue space. And then, of course, that ties in beautifully with a not to do list. So we kind of take a look at our goals and then, how are we going to incorporate that with some to dos to support those goals? We've got the idea of a personal challenge. So there's a couple of examples there of incorporating the one over on the right. I want to feel alive, aware, and able. And those three words are driving the goals for the week. I loved how that was kind of brought to fruition. And don't worry, I'm going to go back through all of these slides while you work on these pages or these spaces. Some more ideas of categories there over there on the upper right. There's that frog, fun, and fierce. I've done frog, fun, and fruitful. And the frog is like that saying, eat the toad or eat the frog. Get that thing that you don't want to do, get it out of the way, make that a priority. And then some other categories that you can see there, just some things, more of something and less of something, and how that informs your goals. Of course, the goals can then directly create your to-do list, so that those goals happen, your steps to make them happen. Here's some beautiful examples of that. The one on the left is kind of neat. I love it's sort of they're doing 1, 2, 3, one thing I must do, two things I want to do, three things I am proud of, and kind of a little bit of a reflection there. And then also, um, I thought the way this weekly spread was set up with the to do. So maybe the to do list is repurposed. You use that space for something else, maybe a quote, maybe like that reminder you see in the bottom left there. I'm going to take things step by step. Be chill, get it done. And then you create a to do list, maybe in the weekly spread, like the example you see on the right. And we love a to-do list. I always leave my to-do list blank, and I do go back and celebrate the extra things that I've gotten done for the week, and I put that in a to-do list. Those little things that sparked joy that were not on the to-do list. My to-do list goes on my weekly spread. Or you need to focus on a be list. How do you want to be this week? And maybe really leaning into that feeling that you said you wanted to feel. How's that going to happen? How do you want to be for that? And then we'll drop down to the habit and activity tracker, and I'll put on some music and go back through all of these slides so you can work on your pages. This graphic is from James Clear, who is I always say, the author of Atomic Habits. Really great book on incorporating habits that really work in your life. And one of his suggestions is to never miss twice. Try to, if there's something you want to do on the regular, do your best to not miss 2 times in a row. And I love when we see the whole month in a graphic like this, that, missing every now and then isn't that big of a deal, because look at all the times we actually did do the thing. Here are some great examples of that Oh, you're gonna love that book, Monica, and I've listened to it a couple of times too. It's really, oh, it's so good. So some habit and activity trackers. Of course, can you see the yellow circle on that first one on the right there? I did. That one is, gonna do work on my chores and tasks 4 to 6 times a week, plus incorporate a listening time for a podcast. And so those kind of things are called habit stacking. And Kim K, while we go through this, I'll go back through all these slides so you'll get to see that again. So habit stacking is when you take something you're going to do and then you pair maybe a new habit with that, and then you've stacked them and you're going to have more success with that new habit. You can set goals if you want, but you don't have to set goals. You can just use this as a tracker. You don't have to fill in all the lines. You can just do like the one in the middle left. 3 things are on this tracker. Circle the days that you want certain things to happen. I actually use this for a medication I take that it happens every fourth day. And so I just circle those days and it really helps me stay on top of that. Look at this one in the upper left with the little ladybugs. So it's like maybe 3 times a day taking meds. So they've divided this up and then they color that in and it creates a little ladybug when it's done. But also, again, a call out to just tracking 3 things. The person on the right tracking 4 things. So, and then the one on the bottom left, one of the days is circled with Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday because they're trying to limit social media. And I love how it's not like stop social media. It's like limiting it. And it's on these days that I'm going to do that. So, biting off those little bits. And then there's some habit and activity tracker ideas if you're looking to add maybe a little something, something to your list. So I will put on some music and go back through all of these slides. If you saw something that spoke to you, grab a screenshot of it or a little, take a picture of it with your phone. And it might be something that you're planning to use maybe, in the month of June. You're not going to use it this week, but you're going to use it later. And then we'll go to our next page. All right, good job working on this first page. And I wanted to call out Jody was talking about looking at the trackers and seeing like how often something happened and how long, how many times something did not happen. And I laughed because my habit tracker, my big wheel this month has all been around my morning routine. And for some reason, I've had trouble checking off the brush teeth in the morning. I don't know. I'm getting distracted, whatever. And then I looked at my data for this week and like my work on declutter list, nada, nothing checked. So it's going to help inform what my next week looks like. But again, it's data. And I know why I didn't work on that list. When I stop and think about it, I was out of town. I did, took care of my mom for a little bit. There's all these things. So this is just information. It's not there to make you feel bad if you didn't get something done. And I need to be a little more intentional with how I set up for next week so that I can feel like maybe I accomplished what I had set out to do. So let's jump over to that second um, part of our setup. And this is where the meal planner or the meal tracker is, which you can use that space just as that, plan out your meals for the week. I know a lot of folks will put like their main meal in one of these smaller sections and then they repurpose this space. There's lots of different ways to use the meal tracker. These two examples, someone is prioritizing and it says focus on one task at a time, and they've broken their tasks down through the week, which I love that. Some fun stuff in the shopping list with a little bingo board. The one on the right, y'all, stickers want to be stuck. If you're a sticker person, look at that page. Go put those fun things on that page. And then their meal planner is going to be the place where they celebrate their victories for the week. So let's take a look at like the meal plan used as a meal plan. There are some main meals written there on the one on the left, and then someone else is going to use the space to track fruits and veggies. Someone else is going to be tracking protein, net carbs, and fats for the week. So doing their macros. You can also repurpose it into a million ideas. Andrea says self-care. She's putting her self-care here. Perhaps a rosebud thorn reflection each day at the end of the day, right? Like the example on the left. Um, the delightful life next to that one has just a beautiful quote. Maybe you look for beautiful quotes to kind of guide your day and set yourself up for a wonderful time. The meal plan for my soul, like a little journal response, a to-do list, get it done. There's the priorities for the week. So many ways to set this up. Whatever is speaking to you. I love always thinking about that symptom and health tracker space because then it's all in one space to share with your caregiver. So there's a suggestion for that. Maybe what did you learn today? I shared this one last week, the energy level, like checking in with self and looking at where your energy level is. Make sure, if you're drinking, use those water droplets to track the beverages that you're putting into your body. The journal prompts over there on the bottom, right, with the little post-it notes, and then you can put your answers underneath it. Perhaps this is where the appointments go. Now, any of these spaces on this page, again, you're invited to use it just as it is, but any of the ideas we're seeing could be incorporated in any of the spaces. So let's take a look at the Mind Body Health Plan. Perhaps this week you grab these little reflection pieces and you do kind of that end of the month check in with self. Kind of, what was good about this month and what we're going to take forward into next month. Here's some fun ideas about taking care of yourself, using it as that self-care plan. There's a fun little graphic on how to mix up your routine if you feel like you need a little something to shake things up a little bit. There's some suggestions there. I always love this. How did I nourish my mind, body, soul? That reflection. You could maybe look at the feeling word that you've chosen for the week and maybe do a daily reflection on that. How is that going for you? A couple of other great graphics. Again, if you're not on the Silk and Sonder Instagram account, be sure to follow because there's beautiful things throughout the whole week that can really be inspiring on tough days. So there's some fun things to maybe consider popping into this mind body health space, or you can rename this to your mind spirit health plan, like the person did on the right there, and really focusing on taking care of their spiritual health, their spiritual wellness, getting that spiritual rest that they might need. It's always fun to use alliteration days, and here's a couple of examples of that with a graphic with all kind of things to do there. And let's see. Oh, I loved this one. The Mind Body Health Plan on the upper left. I'm going to color, I'm going to roller skate, handbells. So some of it is quiet time, some of it is active time for taking care of self. The one below that really broken up into what am I going to do for my mind? What am I going to do for my body? How am I going to take care of my health this week? The one on the right is actually an old one of mine that I did, kind of embracing the Martin Seligman's idea of flourishing, and it was just doing a quick gratitude check-in at the end of each day, asking yourself the questions that you see there. What am I grateful for? What was my role in whatever that situation was, and what positive emotion did I experience? And there was a lot of research done on doing a reflection like that, of how good it is for your brain and readjusting your mindset to one of immense gratitude. Love the self-care bingo that you can find that sticker in this super duper kind of evergreen set that goes with all the journals. So there's an example of what that looks like there. And then, of course, that shopping list, we love that grid. So lots of bingo boards go here. It's a bingo board for me every week, but you can see how other folks are going to use that. I often include this social check-in. I believe we were made to be in connection with one another. And so, boy, talk about some intentionality with checking in with the people in your life and kind of tracking that and make sure, because before you know it, another week's gone by and you meant to call somebody, but you didn't. What is in and what is out. Look at that graphic on the right. Really sitting with yourself and embracing the good things in your life and saying goodbye to the not so great things. Some fun examples of bingo boards here. And y'all, I loved this one, the bookish nonsense. This is a reader extraordinaire, because look at all those are not light books, but so I don't know how they're using this list, but really putting some great reading material front and center. Perhaps you gravitate to a beautiful quote like the one on the bottom left. Just, lots of ways to set this space up. All right, so I'm going to put on some music while we work on page 2, and I'm going to encourage you to hang out till the very end, because we are going to exit by sharing the things that we are loving. I'm going to have special dedicated time for that, and then we will close our time together and go have a great week. All right, let's work on this. Tackle this page 2. Let us know the repurposing that you do, and even maybe some past ideas, because that's how we get those good ideas in our journal. All right, my friends, you're sharing some great stuff in the chat. I love it. Where in the world are my kids today? That's a great use of one of these spaces. Eric Carl, who wrote The Very Hungry Caterpillar, says simplify, slow down, be kind. And don't forget to have art in your life. Music, paintings, theater, dance, and sunsets. So, as we say goodbye to the month of May this week and our deep digs into simplicity, I'm going to challenge you to kind of keep that quote front of mind and also think about right now, what are you loving? What is going in that box? Something simple. Share that in the chat as we play our exit music and just wish you a great week and see you next time, Sonder family.